Hi, I'm Laura, and today in Cooking at Home with City Catering we are going to make some veggie fritters and we are going to serve them with a sweet corn and tomato salsa. This is a nice recipe to get children to eat some veggies because we are going to basically make a savory pancake batter and then we are just going to grate some carrots and courgettes into it and then we're going to pan fry them. So it's kind of like a different way to get kiddies to eat some veggies. And if your children do not like carrots or do not like courgette, you can add different vegetables. You could add some peppers, you could add even some like grated broccoli, you could add some butternut squash. The sky is the limit with this one. First we're gonna make the sweet corn and tomato salsa, and the first thing that we always do is get a wet clean cloth and we put it underneath our chopping board to prevent it going all over the place. Okay, so to prepare the tomatoes, we've washed them already, okay? And then we want to chop them, but we don't want the inside of the tomato, like all the seeds. So we are gonna cut them into wedges first. And then we are gonna scoop out the seeds. And we can keep them for later, and we can use them next time we are making like a tomato sauce, like a bolognese or something like that. We can add them to it, so they won't go to waste. But for this recipe, really, we just want this part. Okay, now that we've taken all the inside out of the tomato, we are gonna keep that, as we said earlier, for like a tomato sauce or something. We keep it aside. And now what we need to do is to dice the tomato, and then we're just gonna do it like that. We're gonna cut these into strips, and then we're just gonna dice them. You'll usually find that when you're cutting tomatoes, it's easier to cut them with a knife that has a serrated edge, like that one, and this one in particular is called a tomato knife. As you can see now, I've diced all the tomatoes, and then I've also drained the tin sweet corn, and now I'm gonna add the chopped tomatoes to the sweet corn. Okay, next we need half a red onion, diced as well, so we're gonna cut it in half. We can keep that for a different thing. I wanna peel it first. To be honest, if you really like onion, you could put a full one, so it's up to you. So we're gonna just top and tail, and then we're just gonna peel it. Sometimes I find it easier to do it with my fingers. And then it needs to be crushed. Usually I just, if you have a big knife, I just put it like that, and I just, and then, so if you want to crush garlic and you don't have a garlic crusher, you just cut it as small as you can. And usually the easiest thing to do is you put a little bit of salt, and then very careful, like with a knife, yeah, you just kind of crush it with the tip of the knife, and the salt really helps. And then you just keep on crushing it and working it until you have a paste. If you don't have a big knife, I mean, you can always just finally chop it for this recipe, but I think it's just nicer flavor-wise if you can crush it. The next thing is that we are gonna chop a chili. The recipe calls for half a chili, so I'm just gonna cut it whatever way you rather, but I'm just gonna do this. Then I'm just gonna keep this one. And when you are handling chilies, what you have to remember is very important that you wash your hands straight afterwards, because the spiciness of the chili will get into your hands, and then afterwards if you touch your face, like your eyes, could be very painful. So just remember to always wash your hands afterwards. You can choose to keep the seeds in the recipe if you want to. If you like it really spicy, I don't particularly do, so I'm gonna discard them. And now, like everything else, you just cut it into strips. And then we are gonna finally chop it. And now what we are gonna do is we are gonna add what we have here now, the chili, the red onion, and the garlic paste, and we are gonna mix it well. Okay, now we are gonna get a handful of fresh coriander. Usually in the coriander, if the stalks are very, very thick, you would remove them. But these ones are very thin and tender, so I'm happy to use them all. And I find the easier way to chop any herb like that is like literally you hold them all in one hand, you know, pretty tight. And then with a sharp knife, carefully, you just... So now we are gonna finish the salsa. So here we have the chopped tomatoes, the sweet corn, the red onion, the half a chili. I'm gonna add the juice of a lemon that I've already squeezed. And then we are gonna add the coriander. Then completely up to you, but I'm gonna add a little pinch of salt because I think it really brings the flavors together. It says like a tablespoon of oil. I'm using olive oil here. Nice little splash. And then we are gonna mix it. And I find with salsas, yeah, because obviously this is not gonna be cooked, this is gonna be eaten like that. It's nicer if you make them in advance and then you keep them in the fridge, even if it's like for an hour or so, and it really kind of brings the flavors together. Now we're gonna start with the veggie fritters, and the first thing we need to do is to grate the courgettes. So we're just gonna cut the ends off. I've already washed them, and then using your standard box grater, I'm just gonna grate them. Okay, now that all the courgette is grated, I've put it in a colander, and then I wanna sprinkle a little bit of salt. We're gonna mix it, and then we're gonna let it rest for like 10 minutes, because what will happen then is that the courgette will release some liquid, and we will squeeze the rest of it out before we add it to the fritter batter. Next we are gonna grate the carrots, but first obviously we need to peel them. And then, like we did with the courgettes, we are just gonna grate them. Okay, next we are just gonna prepare the spring onions, and usually what I do with them, I mean, I've washed them and I removed all the bits that weren't very nice, and I'm just gonna cut the ends, and then we are just gonna carefully slice them. We're gonna move them to the side, and then for the veggie fritters we need as well 2 garlic cloves, and they need to be crushed, so I'm gonna crush them exactly like I did earlier. Okay, now that the grated courgette has been resting for a while, we're just gonna squeeze the water out. So basically the best thing to do it is with your hands, and so basically just take it and just squeeze the water. Can you see how much water comes out of it? Okay, now in a large bowl we're gonna mix all the ingredients for the veggie fritters. So I'm gonna add the grated and squeezed courgette. Then I'm gonna add the grated carrot, the sliced spring onion, the crushed garlic, I'm gonna give it a little mix. And then I'm gonna add the flour. And then I want to add the slightly beaten eggs. And then I want to add a tiny pinch of salt, only a tiny one because the courgettes already had salt. So otherwise it would make it too salty. And then we just have to mix it. And when it's all very well mixed, then we are gonna cook them. Okay, now we're gonna start to cook the veggie fritters. I have the mixture ready here and I have my frying pan. So I'm just gonna turn on the heat to like medium high. And I wanna put some oil in the frying pan. And then what you need to have ready for when you finish cooking the fritters is a plate with some kitchen roll on it, so we can put them after they've been cooked, and the kitchen towel will absorb any excess fat. Now we'll wait until this is hot. Okay, now the oil is hot. Using a spoon or two, yeah, you can just scoop up some of the mixture and carefully put it in the oil. And then what you're gonna do is flatten it because we want them to be quite flat. And then obviously depending on the size of your frying pan, you can cook a few at a time. I would recommend not to put too many so that they don't stick all together. And the size is as well, you know, completely up to you. If you want to do small ones, you can, or if you want to do larger ones, it's fine as well. Ideally, they should cook around 3 to 4 minutes in each side. Okay, now we are just gonna turn them over carefully. And you see they're nice golden brown color. And then we're gonna continue cooking them for another, around probably 3 minutes. Okay, now they've finished cooking. They are nice and golden in both sides. And here you have it. The salsa has been in the fridge for a little while, and here we have some veggie fritters, and we are just gonna serve them literally with the salsa on the side. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay, and here it is. Enjoy it.